if I knew that this was gonna be the outcome, like, I would have never done something like this, but you don't know when you're in the moment, and like, it was the most, like, it was so, like, I just felt so stupid.
What's up, crusties? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to go on a little adventure. We're gonna grab our backpacks, our suitcases, our hand luggage, our pencil pouches. We are going to grab everything, laptop bag. We're going to grab all of our tiny whiny belongings, and we are going to go on a trip. Where are we going to go, you ask? Well, funny story. We are going to be going on a trip to a little nice coastal island set in the 1950s called Cape May. Yes, this is a book review about the infamous, expensive, questionable book called Cape May by Chip Cheek. I'm going to try and keep this professional and be serious with you guys, as serious as it can possibly be, because this is a giant poo-poo pee-pee mess. Okay, this book is just wow. I don't even know where to begin, but we are going to begin. So you might be asking yourself, why would you read a book like this, Chanel? It's not even in your usual sphere. It's not even in your taste, in your line of view, in your preference. It's not even something you would normally look at, because yes, if you watch my channel frequently, you know that my favorite genres are YA, romance, and then mysteries and thrillers, and this book is neither. But the reason why I was looking at this book, why I got alerted to this book, is because there was this trend going around on Twitter called #PublishingPaidMe, I believe, and one of the authors, who is Chip Cheek, posted how much he was paid. This trend is literally just authors talking about how much they were paid for different books, their advances, and things like that. I don't know too much about the publishing world, and I did do some research on it, but I cannot tell you anything coherent, and I won't even attempt to. But they talked about the advances that they were paid, and a lot of different authors were talking about, oh, we got paid this, oh, we got paid that. And it was, as we would expect, really disheartening to see that a lot of authors of colors, especially Black authors, were paid way less than their white counterparts. But this specific detail that happened with Chip Cheek was that Chip Cheek's debut novel, Cape May, was taken, paid, given. He was basically given an advance of $800,000 for his debut novel, which, as you can imagine, caused a giant earthquake in the bookish community. I definitely think that this is more of a publishing issue than the author himself, because he didn't strangle the company and the editors and whoever gave him the $800,000 into giving him the $800,000. They chose to give him that amount, okay? They could have allocated that to different authors, and they could have, made it more fair and things like that, but they chose to give him that money for one reason or another, which I do kind of see why what happened, and I'll explain as we go along. But that's basically why I initially became interested in this book. I wanted to see what kind of book warrants an $800,000 advance for a debut novel. Okay, guys, this is a huge deal, because a lot of authors were talking about $15,000, $25,000, $50,000, and we were all like, ooh, that's some money, that's some money. And then to see Chip Cheek, I had to read the book. I really had to. And if you know me, you also know that I have nothing against hate reading. If I know a book is horrible, I'm still gonna read it because I want to experience that torture. So yeah, there was basically nothing stopping me from reading Cape May, and so I did, and now we're gonna talk about this book, okay? Cape May, contrary to what I originally believed, is a literary fiction that follows a young, newlywed couple that gets married, and they decide to go to this island, Cape May, for their honeymoon. They decide that they want to experience being a married couple in the wife's, basically family vacation home and area. So that's basically what the book is about, and it's just them going to their honeymoon, meeting this really cool partying couple, spending a lot of time with them, drinking a lot of gin and tonic, and having a grand old time. So when I originally saw that description on Goodreads, I glanced through it. I saw young couple, I saw married, I saw island, and my brain went, "Ooh, it must be a thriller." So I was super pumped to read it because I was like, okay, even if it's a bad thriller, maybe it won't be worse than what I recently read. If you don't know what I recently read that was a thriller, I will put a little picture of it below because I did make a video on a really bad thriller I read recently. I highly encourage you to check that out because you need to be warned about that book. But anyway, so I thought it was a thriller about a married couple, a newlywed couple, and I thought they were gonna go through some crazy stuff at this island, maybe have to escape, fight for their life, something. But no, it wasn't. Then I saw, oh, it's marked literary fiction. And I was like, okay, well, maybe it's boring because the only literary fiction books that I have experience with are that one book, Secret History. Secret History, I DNF'd that book 3 times. It was so boring. And so I was like, okay. Then I looked and I saw the Goldfinch on that list. And I also heard that the Goldfinch is boring. And I was like, okay. So I was a little nervous for reading it. But I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. I really, really want to know what's in here that was this expensive. Then I saw someone make a post on Twitter about the book. And it was an excerpt. And the book was literally erotica. Yeah, guys, so it was not a thriller and it was not like just literary fiction, okay? This book is erotica. So if you're going into it thinking, oh, it's gonna be a mystery or a thriller, or oh, it's gonna be just literary fiction about a married couple learning how to love each other, blah, blah, blah.
No, it's not. At all. No, no.
It was literally just 250 something pages of erotica. The book opens up with Henry and Effie, the main couple who had just got married, and we learned that Henry is 20 and Effie is 18, and they got married fresh out of high school because they wanted to be married and they wanted to, you know, do the dirty, do the tango mango. They wanted to, you know, get in the bed and roll around together. So they were like, let's get married. And so that's basically the first thing that they do literally in chapter 1. And when I tell you it literally lasted for 5 seconds, I am not joking. Like, this book is weirdly descriptive with a lot of the sexual things that go on in the book. It's really, really odd. Like, in the beginning, there's just a lot of description of Henry and Effie doing very, very simple and like erotic things. And it's not even in a way where when you're reading romance smut, you're like, oh, okay, that's smut. No, it was really gross. And there were parts where Henry would talk about his issue with using the toilet. Like, I don't know if it's Chip Cheek that has this issue or if it's just him wanting to force it down our throats that Henry has this issue, but Henry would not let go of the fact that he could not fart or poop around his wife. And I was like, how do you marry someone that you can't fart or poop around? Like, that was just really weird to me. There were a lot of unnecessary descriptions of Henry holding his fart in and Henry opening the window and Henry like feeling uncomfortable about using the toilet while Effie was asleep. And I was like, okay, this is really unnecessary, but whatever. So we read through all those parts. We read through them, you know, like getting together for the first time, doing the dirty for the first time. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of nasty, but let's like move on. And then there was like a part where Effie told Henry that his tasted like cornstarch, and that was when I had to and laugh with the group chat because what did I just read? It was just really weird. There were so many references to people's genitals smelling like food. Like, we had cornstarch, we had pancake batter. I'm just like, why? And so when you're reading this book, you kind of like wonder if Chip Cheek has a thing about food and sexual intercourse because there's so many parts. Like, there was also a part where Henry described someone's armpits smelling like onions, and then afterwards they do the dirty, and I'm like, how do you go from being like somebody literally smells like onions to being like do the dirty? What? Oh my god. Okay, let's get back on track because I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out how to talk about this book without just losing my mind because what the heck was this book? So we get to the island. Henry and Effie do the dirty for the first time, yada yada yada. They're both like fresh and excited and they're going all around town, having lunch, buying groceries that they never used to actually make any food, by the way. Okay, I just wanted to put that in there. But they're going around buying food, buying groceries, and then they meet this couple that lives across the street from them, Clara and Clara's husband, who later becomes like not important. But Clara is Effie's older cousin's friend from her childhood. And so when they meet Clara, Clara's like, oh my god, is that little Effie? Oh my god, I remember you from when you were a child. And Effie's like, Henry, let's go. I despise this woman. But somehow they they become friends with Effie and another man named Max, who later we find out is Effie's boy toy, essentially. That's the man that she's cheating on her husband with, which is madness. But one thing you notice right off the bat, which is something people have talked about, is that this book feels a lot like The Great Gatsby. And I will definitely say that it does if you view Clara and Max from the mindset of The Great Gatsby and from Jay Gatsby. You definitely get a lot of those trends, a lot of that same like viewpoint, because they spend a lot of time hosting parties. They have this like view of like someone looking into someone else who's having like a really great and like luxurious and crazy and like jealous type life. You know, you're looking into someone who just has this wonderful life that you want to have. That's basically how Effie and Henry look at Clara and Max. They see these people and they're like, we want to be them, we want to be around them. So a lot of the book is about their friendship with Clara and Max, and also Max's sister Alma, who becomes a very important part of the story for quite some time. But we end up going through the story with Henry, Effie, Max, Clara, and also Alma, and they do a lot of crazy white people things. That's just how I'm gonna put it. Like, they break into someone's house and try on that person's wig. First of all, have you ever heard of lice? Second of all, only these rich people could get away with breaking into someone's house. Like, even though Henry and Effie aren't as rich as Clara and Max are, they are still pretty rich for the house that they are able to stay at in this coastal town. Like, and also for the fact that they continuously buy groceries that they waste. I cannot get over the fact that they bought so many groceries that they never used. I just, like, I'm bitter. If you think I'm bitter, yes, I am. Like, wasting what? Like, they did not cook one time at all. Like, they spent most of the book partying, drinking gin and tonic, you know, living that life. They even like go to the beach for some time, and I'm like, this would be a great time to make the sandwich with all that food you bought, but I guess not. We're just gonna grab some more gin and tonic and take that to the beach. But it's fine. Anyway, so they break into this person's house, they put on these wigs, they have a really grand, luxurious time, and this is when we start getting into some really weird stuff. So when the book started, we automatically get a really weird feeling from Effie and Henry, because it kind of feels like they don't really like each other, that they're just getting married because they were dating and they're Christian and they just want to, you know, do the dirty. And that to me was evident in the fact that whenever they went to church, afterwards Henry would want to, you know, and Effie was like, I'm tired. And Effie, throughout the book, started sleeping all the way through the afternoon, when it was explicitly said in the beginning of the book that they would do that stuff in the morning. And I was just kind of like, I'm trying to keep it PG because I don't want to scar anyone, but there were a lot of really nasty ways that Henry talked about women in this book.
Every time a woman would come in, the first thing he would talk about was her breasts.
There was literally a line in the book where Henry sees a woman coming in, and the first thought he has is that her breast lit up the room. I was like, what? Miss Flashlight, where you going? Like, what? So there were so many instances where as soon as Henry saw a woman, the first thing he thought about was her chest, or he thought about her waistline, or he thought about like her butt. And it's just like, come on now, something else. Give us something. Give us something. Like, imagine how tired we are to hear Henry talk about a woman's chest literally almost every single chapter of this book. Come on, this book is literally like 250 pages. There's no need for like so many references about people's chests to be made, but Henry has that thing, right? So he automatically notices Alma, Max's sister, because of that, and he automatically keeps his eyes on Clara at all times. Because of that, he's like, Hunty, I'm watching you. So yeah, he's like always watching. Henry is obsessed with boobs, and it made me so sick how he described people. He was so sexist, so misogynistic. Every chance he got, he was objectifying a woman that came around him, even if it was a woman that had nothing to do with him. I was just like, oh my God, imagine how tired we are. But anyway, so they like have that whole thing where they're not really attracted to each other. You can feel it immediately. And because of this, whenever Max and Alma would come into the picture, you could see Henry looking at Alma in a lustful way. And you could see Henry looking at Effie, looking at Max in the same exact way. So the book was literally just Henry thirsting over Alma and then being mad that Effie was thirsting over Max. And as we go through the book, there were really weird ways that people's relationships changed. Like, Henry started, of course, nobody was shocked, cheating on his wife with Alma. And when I say that he was cheating, homeboy was really, really trying to cheat, like, to the point that he was trying to leave his wife, guys. Like, he was planning with Alma to run away, to be together, and to like have a wonderful, loving life with her. And of course that didn't work out because like it just didn't work out. It didn't work out. Okay, it just didn't work out. But so that's like one whole storyline. And then another storyline is Effie and Max spending so much of the book like literally side eyeing each other. You could tell, like, even though the book wasn't necessarily in Effie's perspective, you could tell that Effie had a thing for Max, because during the scene that I mentioned earlier when they all went to try on wigs and stuff, there was a really weird part in that scene where Alma and Effie and Clara all like had wigs that looked like each other, and Clara was wearing one that looked like Effie and was like, look at me, I'm Effie, I'm blah 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 blah. And then Effie wore one that looked like Clara, and Max was like, and Henry was like, cut the cameras. And it was really awkward to read because I was like, I don't want to be here. It was like secondhand embarrassment. Like, I'm telling you guys, the only reason this book was so funny to me was because I was reading it with friends. Otherwise, I think it would have been dumpster fire. I would have really suffered because, oh my God, it was trash buckets. Okay. There is no timeline for this video. It's literally just me rambling for however long this video will be because, oh my God. Okay, we're just gonna continue. So then we get into them having that weird thing, weird attraction with each other. And does it get better? No, it doesn't. When I tell you that this book to me feels like 50 Shades of Grey, The Great Gatsby, and then The Secret History all just blended together, I am not joking. If you've read this book, please tell me what you think about my comparisons right now, because honestly, there were so many Secret History vibes I got from this book. Maybe it's because the main character's name is also Henry. Maybe it's because of the weird relationship dynamics that were going on in this book. Or maybe it's just because I despise the Secret History, so I just needed to drag it for something. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it definitely has a Great Gatsby vibe, and it definitely has a wannabe 50 Shades of Grey vibes. I'm barely starting 50 Shades of Grey right now, but the reason why I say that Cape May kind of gave me that vibes is, first of all, because of all the fornication, and second of all, because there was a part in the book where, oh my God, if you're my mother, please log out of this video right now. Do not continue to hear me say this, because when I tell you, like, you do not want to hear me say this, I'm serious. But anyways, there's a part in the book where for some reason they were playing charades, right? They're playing charades and drinking their gin and tonic because no other drink on this planet exists at all. But they were like playing the game and stuff, and they decided to start doing the dirty. And when I say they, I don't mean they were doing the dirty in their own private spots. I don't mean they were doing the dirty with their own partners. No, they switched partners. Okay, they did a little bit of a wife swap. They did a little bit of a family swap, okay, where Henry was doing the dirty with Clara and Effie was doing it with Max. And as you can imagine, it was very awkward to read that as a reader. Like, honestly, I like switched my audiobook to like the fastest speed because I just wanted it to pass. Oh my God, it was like, if I could unread that, I would. I'm so glad that my eyes did not see it, because I don't know that I would have survived. So they were like doing that, right? And all of a sudden, Henry decides that, oh no, even though he's already been cheating on his wife and he's already sleeping with this other woman right in front of his wife, he can't for any life of himself think of his wife enjoying anything like this the same way that he's enjoying it. So he decides to cut the cameras, and he gets up and he like leaves. And then he like spends the rest of the book being really mad that Effie did that with Max when he did the same thing with Clara. And they get into like this really bad fight where Effie's like, well, you were doing it too. And he's like, well, you're a woman. You should be embarrassed and ashamed. You're gonna go to hell. You're gonna die. You're gross. But like, that's the same thing he was doing, and also he had already been cheating on her. When I tell you guys, this book, their entire honeymoon, the entire timeline for almost every single chapter of this book was 2 weeks. Like, it took this man 2 weeks to cheat on his wife, and then he was mad that she like slept with someone else. And I can't. Like, it was just so bad. Anyway, so we go through that and they like do the dirty with those two couples. And then Henry and his wife get into a really bad fight because she finds out that he was cheating on her with Alma. And they get into this really bad fight where Effie's like, I'm leaving you. And Henry's like,
no, don't leave me. No, I would have left you, but don't leave me. And it was just really embarrassing to read.
Henry was blaming everything on Effie, but he was the one who did the majority of everything that was wrong with the relationship. So the whole time I was just kind of like, I want this to end. I want this to end. I want this to end. And it did. They were just going to break up. And then all of a sudden Effie's like, oh, I'm pregnant. And Henry's like, what? And they decide to stay together after their honeymoon, and they decide to never speak about it again. And the book, like in the last chapter, kind of like speeds up through everything. And we get them like having the first child, having the second child, having a third child, and I think their fourth child died. And then after that, we get through Effie gaining weight and Henry cheating on Effie and Henry believing that Effie would never cheat on him because she's now fat and will never have anyone. And then she cheats on him. And then he's like, why did you cheat on me? You're fat. How did you even get a chance? And it's really embarrassing. It's just no. So we get through that. And then they just kind of go through this weird thing at the very end of the book where we are going back to the past, where we're going back to 1957, which is where the book begins. And we're going back there and we learn about how when they were leaving their honeymoon, Effie was like, I'm never gonna let you go. And the entire book just ends with them being like, and she never let him go. And I was like, she should have. Coming back and thinking about the book, I can kind of see why they paid this man $800,000. And when I say that, it's because if you think about the kind of people who would read a book like this, who would desire to read a book like this, they will be giving those publishers money. They will be buying this book. They will be spending their hard-earned coins on this book, and the publishers will make their money very quickly. And in order to test this theory, I recently went on Instagram Live and I was talking with a bunch of people about the book, and we all decided to go on Goodreads and look at reviews. And lo and behold, the exact demographic of people that I thought would be the ones to read and enjoy this book was the exact demographic. And most of them were like, what it would be like to return to the 50s when things were just... And I was like, what? Why would you want to return to the 50s? The 50s was only good for like two groups of people. And can I say I enjoyed the book? Maybe, because I read it with friends. I would definitely have DNF'd it if I read it alone. Can I say it was worth $800,000? Maybe, because if you think about the market, if you think about the fact that it was sold for that much, also like internationally and in foreign markets, which I've heard would love such content. I've heard they would love this type of story. If you think about that, the publishers kind of did some giving that man that money. But the book itself is not good. It was not, it made no sense. It just literally felt like Secret History, The Great Gatsby, and 50 Shades of Grey in one story. And will I ever want to read it again? No. Will I be reading this author's next book? Yes. But for free, just like I did with Cape May. So if you are like, I'm so mad that this author got this much money, but I want to read this book, look at your library, find a free way to read it. But I'm not saying you should or shouldn't read it, but if you do, let me know. Anyways, this review, I tried to like be super calm because I just have so many words and so many thoughts. This book was just dumpster fire, and I cannot believe that somebody sat down to write a book like this that literally was all about people's genitals smelling like food, cheating on your wife, then shaming her, sexism, misogyny, racism. There was a lot of racism in this book. I can't even, yeah, it was a mess. It was a big fat mess. And I, for one, do not want to return to the 1950s ever. Why do you want to go back? Tell me, what would be any good reason for going back to the 1950s? There aren't any. Okay. Anyways, I will catch you guys later in my next video. Thanks for watching this review. It was all over the place. Nothing was scheduled properly. Nothing was in a good line of scene. But I will talk to you guys in the next review. Goodbye. I hope you enjoyed your journey to Cape May by Chip Cheek. Peace out.